Good morning. How are you guys? I'm Eleanor Dooley. I'm so glad that you're here this morning, or if you're catching the replay. I'm coming to you today because I have an important message that I'd like to share. Something has been on my heart for a few days, and I'm wondering if anybody else out there in this group is experiencing similar things, because I've really been digging deep within myself to figure it out, and I'd like to share what I've discovered. Are anybody in here self-proclaimed perfectionist? Do you like to have control of what's going on? Do you have to have certain things in alignment physically in your space before that you can relax? These are all signs that we like to have control. And I am self-proclaimed because all of those things are true for me. I feel all the dishes have to be cleaned and put away before I can settle down for the evening. All things need to be in order and prepared for the next day before I can turn off and go to sleep. Now, these things aren't necessarily bad. They are helpful to be prepared and to be planned out so that you don't fall into temptations that otherwise might distract you. But what I do want to remind you is that choosing what you spend your time on and the energy behind it is truly what makes the difference in what you're doing. So letting go of perfectionism. So what does that mean? How do you know if that applies to you? And what can we do about it? Why do we need to let it go? Well, for me, that perfection that I have in my mind, the way that I'm supposed to be, the mom I'm supposed to be, the nutritionist I'm supposed to be, the house I'm supposed to have, all of these perfect feelings aren't necessarily a bad thing to dream of, right? To have goals in your life. But when they're motivated by negative self-talk, or when you talk yourself out of being connected with the dream of those, then it takes a serious different turn in your life. So what do we do when we realize that we have this perfectionism complex and it's not serving us? It's not moving us towards the goal or towards things in our life. It's actually keeping us stuck because we keep reminding ourselves that I'm not there yet, and I'm never going to be there, and it's just impossible, and it's not a supportive, loving feeling. And so I want to challenge you to connect with that inner voice, not the one that tells you you're not doing well, the inner voice that is your guidance, your compass. And for so many years, at least for me, I've always damped down that voice. I didn't really listen to it because I thought I knew better. I believed what other people told me about my body. And it wasn't until I truly connected with the signs and the symptoms and just the feelings that felt true to me that I realized that for all of us, the answers are already there. We just have to listen to them. Sometimes we need to get some guidance to find them, but blindly following what other people, whether they're well-intentioned or not, whether they're well-educated or not, well-experienced or not, if they're not encouraging you to find it within yourself to find the answers, then it's a shot in the dark of whether what they're offering is going to help you. And that's why I created this group. That's why I created my business, because I believe that if you are encouraged to tap into the voice, the inner voice and the inner guidance of your body, you can figure out what's going on. Whether it's high inflammation, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, blood sugar, obesity, any of these things that physically have manifested in our body. Yes, there are steps, there are physical action steps that have been well researched and well documented that you can integrate into your life. But if you don't integrate the inner work and the interconnection, if you don't make the connection between the actions that you're doing and the nourishment of your soul and inside your body, your inner voice and your inner guidance system, you will lose interest, you will phase out, and you will go back to a level of homeostasis, which means somewhere where you're comfortable, and you will stay there. And sometimes we stay there and we feel stuck. Sometimes we stay there and it's not a healthy place to be. Sometimes we stay there and we don't want to be there, but we just don't have anywhere else to be. And so what I want to share with you is that a couple ways that you can truly start thinking about you and all of the things that a million people have told you, all of the diets we've tried, all of the shakes we've tried, all of those things. If that didn't change your lifestyle, if that didn't change your life and you are currently living it today, then it probably wasn't the best fit for you. So think about that for a second. All of those things that we wanted to work so bad, we wanted to lose the weight, or we did lose the weight, but we gained it back, or we didn't find peace in that style of living, then it wasn't the right fit, or it was the right fit at the time and it's not the right fit right now. So how do we navigate this ever-changing way of life that we want to enjoy and we want to live? We don't want to feel deprived. We don't want to be told we can do this, we can't do that, rules. We want to live happily and do as we choose. We want to live as we want to live, okay? And so the first step to that is evaluate where you are. Where are you? For so many years, I just kind of buried my head in the sand and I wouldn't look around, and I would just keep my head down. What is it? Keep your head down, keep your nose clean, and just move forward. And I realized that that's no fun. That's not a fun way to live or a fun place to be. I want to explore what's around me. And so what I mean by that is evaluate what your fears are, okay? Are they actually real? Are you not doing something, or you're not taking action on certain things because you think it's going to be too hard? You think it's too big of an investment. You think you're going to be a failure. All of these things, very valid concerns, but when you break them down and you pull them apart and you hold them right in front of you, are they actually real? Is making an investment in your health going to lead to failure? Right? So evaluate where you are and see if those feelings are actually real, or if they're manifestations of old stories, of experiences that we have that didn't go well, and we quote, learned our lesson. And when I say learned our lesson, we can certainly learn from things in our lives, but learning the lesson and never doing something again without truly exploring the breakdown of what happened. I'll give you an example. So my son was part of a sports team a few years ago before COVID, and it was a very poorly run team. It was I didn't. As a mother on the sidelines, I was very upset, and I was really trying to hold it together so that I could support this. But when it came around, minus a year of COVID, when it came around for us to sign up again, I was very reluctant. And I said, no, we're not doing it. I don't trust the system. I don't trust the way it was run. I don't want to be any part of it. And it was my husband who actually said, well, that was one experience at one point in time with a certain group of people. Does that mean we can never explore that experience again? And I really had to dig deep. I got to be honest. I really had to dig deep and say, I guess we could try it again in a different way. I guess. Because, his point was, we can't write off every negative thing that has ever happened to us ever. We learn from that experience. We recognize signs and signals that maybe were flags before, but they weren't red flags. They were pink flags or orange flags. But now we're smarter, we're wiser. We are more in tune with the signals that are going to guide us. So just because you've had a bad experience in the past with a certain thing, with a certain habit, with a certain way of doing things, doesn't mean it's the wrong thing. It might have been the wrong timing. You might not have been in the right place to receive information. So don't write it off. Explore what you learned, the lesson you learned, and apply the wisdom to the current situation. Okay? I wrote a couple notes. So listening to your inner voice is being aware of the negative self-talk. I had no idea that I had a negative loop of self-doubt, self-talk, and fear constantly running in the background of my subconscious. And it was illuminating to realize we are our worst critics, right? You could present something to somebody and then think it's amazing and it's the best. And you could look at the same exact thing and be so self-critical, so harsh, so just mean, just terrible to yourself. And so I had a difficult time separating, like, oh, I could give everybody else the compliments and the attaboys and all that, but I could never really do it for myself. It felt weird, it felt odd, it felt self-grandizing. And what I realized was, if I separated myself from that, if I looked at myself as if I were my best friend, and I spoke to that person in the way or the thoughts that I thought about myself, it made me feel guilty. It made me feel horrible. And so I was able to separate those feelings and realize that by constantly beating myself up, by saying, your hair looks bad, you look terrible in that outfit, thank God nobody's going to see you today. If you actually say those words out loud and you realize what you are repeating, you know that it's the opposite of your inner voice. It's the opposite of the compass that keeps you alive, that keeps you smiling, that keeps you feeling these feelings of wanting to share and give and provide for, especially if you're a mom, especially if you are in a relationship where you're taking care of somebody, or you have pets, or you have people or animals or things in your life that depend on you. So I want to challenge you today to think through that for a minute. And if you write something down, if you write out some thoughts, I've found that just getting it physically out of my body, whether it's calling a girlfriend or if it's way too private and I would never share with anybody, I hope nobody ever finds out about this. Those are the kinds of juicy feelings that if you come to grips with, if you bring them into the light, they can no longer be dark. That's physics, right? You turn a light on in a dark room, there is no spot in that room that is still dark. And so I like to use that metaphor because if I expose that negativity, that self-talk to the light, if I give it its due, instead of burying it, if I give it its due chance to sway my decision, then I can let it go. Because I've already given it the pros and the cons. I've already walked through that fear is valid, but I'm choosing to not dwell on that. I'm choosing to look to the light and look to the positivity and the feeling of goodness and strength that I can pull into my life. So I'm going to leave you with this. Practice self-compassion. And if that's hard, like it was super hard, and I practice it every day because it does not come easily to me, very self-deprecating. And I've realized that when someone gives you a compliment, say thank you, period. Because that lets the universe know that you are receiving it. Not, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, this, oh, yeah, I got my hair cut, but it's no big deal. No, thank you. Thank you for noticing something about me that I wasn't brave enough at the time to say about myself. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Write a comment below. Let me know if this resonated with you. I'm going to be doing a lot more lives in the next few weeks. So if you have topics or something that's on your heart that you want to share, please reach out, because I'm happy to address those things. And I can't wait to hear from you. I hope you have a great day. Bye.